Hey, family, welcome to the Motivational Institute, where passion and purpose will always find you. My name is Stacey Burrell, and today we're going to talk about something real quick that is really near and dear to my heart because I've lived it. I'm still living it. This is the 7 principles to help you effectively navigate co parenting. Now, this is not an end all be all, there could be 70. But I just want to highlight 7 for you. And these are things that have really helped me in my life. I want you to know this. Your relationship, I got my notes right here. Your relationship has not ended. Your relationship has changed. I know that that's hard to hear, especially if there's a lot of pain right now, depending on where you're at in the process of your separation. But I want you to know this. You still have a relationship with that person as long as you are co parenting with them. But you can make a decision. And this is a decision that I made very early on, right after my separation, which led to my divorce. It was about 9 years ago. I had to decide if I was going to be bitter or better. I had to make that conscious decision. I was listening to a sermon by Ron Carpenter, and that's exactly what he preached on. And it's called Bitter to Better. So you can look that one up, but it helped me a lot. So let's get into these 7 principles. And they're not in any order of priority. All right. So number 7 is put your children first. Your children are first in every single decision that you make. This is whether you divorced or not. Like your children come first. Okay. I want you to think about your actions, especially if there's anger, there's disappointment, there's still some resentment. So what that means is now we have to take a pause before we respond and think about how those actions are going to affect our children because they will. Every single thing that we do, positive or negative, is going to have an impact on our kids. Number 6, you got to create boundaries. So in your relationship with this person, there were certain things that you did and certain things that they did, things that were allowed that are now changing. And now we have to create a boundary. A boundary is basically like an invisible fence that you place around yourself, that you place around your life. And now what you're saying is, this is as far as I'm going to go, and this is as far as I will allow you to go, right? So there has to be this respect for me as a person. There has to be a respect from a mental and physical standpoint. The things that were done that were comfortable in a relationship are now uncomfortable, right? And even unacceptable. But we have to use our voice. And we have to do that up front in the beginning, right? So sit down and have a conversation and just say, hey, I know this is how things used to go, but this is how I would like it to go now when it comes to this. You can look up boundaries and dive more into that, but I want you to make sure that people respect your time, they respect your personal space, they respect whatever types of relationships you choose to have, they respect whatever decisions, or they don't have to respect it, but they understand, right, what their limit is and how far you're going to go with that, right? Because you cannot demand something that you don't also give. So creating boundaries, super important. The next one, number 5, and this comes from Don Miguel's book, The 4 Agreements. If you haven't heard of it, it's amazing. And it's one of the agreements, and it's be impeccable with your word. What that means is guard your tongue, all right? Avoiding negative comments about their mom or their father, right? So I am a product of this. My parents separated when me and my sister were really young. And growing up, I remember my dad would never say anything negative about my mom. Even if me and my sister were like super upset and going on and on about something, he would be like, no, your mom loves you. I'm like, what did you get angry like us? Love you, mommy. But he was impeccable with that word in front of us. Not only that, I believe he was probably impeccable behind closed doors. And that's the second part of this. So if the first part is a struggle for you, just stay there. Okay. Just work on speaking positively around the kids. If you're like, I'm good, I got that in the bag. Now, what I want you to do is take it to this next level and speak positively about them, period. Period. Right? So, whether they're with you or not with you. Number 4, surround yourself with positive people. That is so key. Right? If you don't have an example of what a healthy co parenting situation looks like, start connecting with people who do this very well. Be careful who you take advice from. Because although people want to give you advice because they care, and that's awesome, right? I'm not going to take advice from someone who does not have what it is that I want or that I desire, right? But you can keep your ears open because there's always something that you can learn from someone. But if someone's in a really, really bad relationship, that's probably not the person you want to take advice. Okay. People have been there and done it and they've learned from their experiences. And those are great people that you can learn from as well. The next one is read and study. Learn as much as you can about the effects of separation and divorce and how traumatic that experience can be for your kids. It's really important that you do that because separation and divorce is division. It is a loss. And if you study grief and loss, you understand that it goes through different cycles. And loss to me is going to look different than loss for my kids, right? Everybody loses in a divorce. I mean, there's much to be gained, all right? But keep in mind that it is a loss nonetheless. Number 2 is ask your children questions. Ask them what they need from you because you might feel like, hey, I got this in the bag. I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Everybody's happy, wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, there's a meltdown because we're missing something. So when you have your family meetings, when you're sitting down and talking to your kids one-on-one at the end of the day or Friday night or whatever that is, you can ask them that question like, what do you need from dad? You know, what do you need from mom? What do you need from me? What can I do differently? Right? Ask them the question and open yourself up and your heart up to receive the answer without judgment, without blame, without anger. Don't take it personal. If you take it personal, it's your issue. They have just shined a light on something that you need to address, right? So allow your children to speak freely and honest, create that space so that you can be a better parent. And then finally, here, the last one, and this came from the late, great Pastor Fowler. He said in a sermon once, he said, run your race. Run your race. Don't worry about trying to change other people. You're going to lose your race trying to do that. The best way to change someone else is to change yourself. People may not come up to you and ask you for advice or ask you for help until they see that you are changing and you are transforming and you are doing your work. Not to make anybody else look bad, right? But just to be the very best version of yourself. That's the only way that you can help anybody else. As Les Brown would say, focus on the seller. All right, family. Well, that's my top 7. Those are the principles on how to effectively co-parent. Again, it's not the end all be all, right? I'm actually going back to church right now because that helps me in my spirit. But I pray that this information was a blessing to you. Share it with someone that you know who may be going through a separation or a divorce, having a tough time. I pray that this information really just helps us all become the very best that we can be and really helps us heal from the inside out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.